What are the six? View state, query strings, hidden fields. What one? Sessions, cookies, sessions, applications. Cookies, sessions, and application. These are the different state management techniques what we have saw in the previous class, and I also explained about global.asx, all the things. The next topic in our discussion is going to be ADO.NET. So what is this ADO.NET? So let me give you an introduction to this ADO.NET first. See, every application, generally every application will be having some data. Every application will be having some data. And we need to preserve the data for using in the next time. We need to preserve this data. Yes or not? So we need to preserve the data so that can be used in the future. They can be used in the future, not in the next request. If you want to use in the next request, then we store in sessions and applications and all. Not like that. I want to use this data in the future, after a month, after a year. So if that is the case, we need to preserve the data. Now the big question here that comes is, where do we preserve data? Listen guys, where do we preserve data? Where do we preserve data? We need to preserve the data under a louder. Wrong answer. I already said you this point earlier, not database, data source. Where do you preserve the data means data source. So we need to preserve data under a data source. What is a data source? Anything that is capable of storing the data is called as a data source. File is a data source. Earlier, we just store data in XML. Or some XML data, some products data, we loaded that and used in the application. So we just store the data in a data source. Second important thing, we can store data in a database. We can store data in a database. Remember here, database is a subset of a data source. Under data source, so many data sources will come. File is a data source. Database is a data source. On your mobile phone, you have a software called as address book, where you store the contact details of the person. That is also data source. Are you getting me or not? So when we talk about the word data source, under this, so many different types of data source will be coming across. Files, databases, indexing servers, address books. Lots of different softwares are present, and all these softwares can be called as data source. Is my point clear to all? Yes or not? So when the question arises, where do you store the data? What is the answer? Data is stored under a data source. Clear? Okay. Well, now if at all you want to store your data in a data source, and access the data, you want to store the data, access the data, you want to do all these particular things on data source. Now, if you want to do these activities, your application should interact with the data source. Carefully listen. If you want to do all these activities, your application should interact with the data source. Okay. Now the question that comes in the mind is, how an application interacts with the data source? How an application interacts with a data source? Okay, listen, if an application wants to interact with a data source, unfortunately, we have a problem. What is the problem? Applications are developed using programming languages. Correct? So there is no programming language in the market. There is no programming language in the market that can directly talk to a data source. Got my point or not? What is that? There is no programming language available in the market that can talk directly to a data source. No programming language is available. Why, sir? Because each data source adopts a different protocol for communication. repeat, each data source adopts a different protocol for communication. For example, what's a protocol? A protocol is nothing but a set of rules. A protocol is nothing but a set of rules. All the data sources are not going to follow the same set of rules, man. Every data source adopts a different set of rules for communication. Oracle follows a different communication rules now. SQL Server follows a different set of communication rules. Like this, every data source is going to adopt a different protocol for communication. I'll tell you an example. Suppose in your college, you just require to give a seminar on a topic. Okay. So your teacher have said you the topic, the day, all the things. You are well prepared for that. You're completely prepared on the topic now. The day when you require to give the seminar has arrived, and you require to give the seminar in an auditorium, and there are 10 people sitting before you. There are 10 people sitting before you, and you're required to start your speech. Before you start your speech, you came to know one thing. What you know? The 10 people that are sitting before you don't know any language in common. The 10 people sitting before you don't know any language in common. The 10 understands 10 different languages. Now come on, speak. Speak now. Can you speak? No, why? They don't understand any language in common now. So if I want to make them understand, first I need to learn 10 languages. Sorry, first you need to learn 10 languages now. And after learning all the 10 languages, only you can deliver your speech, which may take you 4 or 5 years to learn all these languages first. Correct or not? So you will not be in a position to give your speech now. Right or not? Exactly the same problem I'm telling you. What is it? If an application has to speak with a data source, you to talk with each data source, you need to follow a different protocol now. Later, you need to learn a new language to talk with a new person. Here, you need to learn a new protocol. All are not same. Understood or not? This is the reason why programming languages doesn't interact with a data source. This is the reason why programming languages doesn't interact with a data source. Programming languages will never interact with any data source directly. Reason, different set of protocols adopted by different data sources. Okay, tell me. If I cannot speak in your understandable language, how do we communicate? A simple question here, use your brain at least sometimes. Speak faster. Why you lazy? Faster. If I cannot speak in your language, how do we talk? Translator. Perfect. Translator. We use a translator now. Yes or not? Same way, when a programming language cannot interact with the data source now, it also requires something like a translator now. Are you clear? And what is the role of a translator? Tell me. In a better way, you can say a translator acts like a bridge between the two. What is a bridge? A bridge is something which connects two disconnected ends. A bridge is something that is going to connect to two disconnected ends. We have a bridge on a river. Because of the river, these two ends are disconnected now. We have a bridge now. And this bridge is going to help you in connecting the two disconnected ends now. Exactly the same point, remember here also. What is that? When we talk about a translator job is also same now. What is going to do? Is going to lay a bridge between the two. So exactly, when my application is not able to talk with a data source now, I need a bridge for communication. Microsoft has provided you 2 different options for us that will work like a bridge for interaction. Microsoft has provided us 2 different options that are available, which works as a bridge for communication. Now, what are the 2 different options, sir? The 2 different options are option number 1. The first option what we have is ODBC, and the second option what we have is OLEDB. So I repeat, guys, Microsoft has given us 2 different options for interaction. The first one is called as ODBC and the second one is called as OLDB. These are the two different options what Microsoft has given for interacting between the two. Okay. So what is that? Because the applications are not capable to interact with a data source, because programming languages cannot interact with a data source directly, we need a bridge. We need a bridge for connecting the two. We need a bridge for connecting the two. And Microsoft has given us the two different options that can be used as a bridge between the applications and the data sources. Bridge between the applications and the data sources. And the first one is ODBC and the second one is OLDB. Read it. Every application will directly or indirectly deals with the data because they need to manage the data. Second. Storing and accessing of the data when required. And to manage data, we need a software known as data source. Next point. Next. All these things can be considered as an example for your data source now. Are you clear? Okay. So all of them are going to be data sources only. File, database, address book and all. Next. Application need to interact with the data source now. Next. Yeah, each data source is going to adopt a different protocol for communication. Are you clearer or not? Each data source is going to adopt a different protocol for communication because each data source is adopting a different protocol for communication. Programming languages cannot directly interact with the data source now. What is the protocol? A set of rules to be followed. A set of rules to be followed. Yeah, to overcome this problem and help in the communication process between applications and data sources, Microsoft has provided us with two technologies that act as a bridge between application and data source. What are the two? ODBC, OLDB. The first one is called as Open Database Connectivity and the second one is called as Object Linked Embedding Database. Come on, first let us start with ODBC. Read the first point. What is this? If I want to speak with 10 people in 10 languages, I need one translator of 10 translators. 10 translators. Why? For each language, you need a separate translator. Just like a translator, here we're calling it as a driver. Read it correctly. It's a collection of drivers, where these drivers will sit between the applications and data source to help in communication with each other. And moreover, we require a separate driver for. We can't use the same driver, man. We need a separate driver for each data source now. Read the note. ODBC drivers are developed by Microsoft for Windows in 1992 actually. They are developed in 1992 for Visual Basic language. Remember 1991 VB language came now. For that VB language only they designed this ODBC driver. Second point. They're already available on your computer, man. They're already available in the computer. Go to that location, you'll find it. Control panel, Windows tools or administrative tools. Come on, go to control panel. Control panel. In this year, if you're working on Windows 10, you'll be finding administrative tools. If you're working on Windows 11, you'll be finding it as Windows tools. Are you clear? So Windows tools for 11, administrative tools for 10, up to 10 with administrative. From 11 onwards, it is called Windows tools. Open it. Under that, you'll be finding up. Basically, you'll be finding this for 32-bit and 64-bit operating systems. 32-bit and 64. Mine is a 64-bit version. You will be having it separately available for 32-bit and 64-bit. Just a minute, all of you. Yeah, you'll be finding out the 32-bit version and the 64-bit. If you open them, anyone, let me open 32-bit. Under that, you'll be finding an option called drivers. See, guys, these are the different drivers to interact with the different data sources. The first one to interact with .txt and .csv files. Second one for MDB, DBF, XLS. Like this, you'll be finding up for Oracle, SQL Server. Like this, you'll be finding up with. All the old and all these drivers are provided by Microsoft, man. Microsoft is a company which provided all the drivers to you now. Same way of opening 64-bit. You see, when you're installing, man, when you're installing, it's very important to remember, all of you. We'll be installing either 32-bit or 64-bit versions, basically. So generally, all the latest softwares like MS Office and all comes as 64-bit. Okay, so maximum 64-bit only will work for you. Maximum 64-bit only will work for you. If you're working with old databases like DBase, Fox Pro, in that scenario, so you say 32-bit. Otherwise, all of you, don't forget, it will be 64 only for you also. Okay, open that. See, we don't have that many number of drivers here. They're limited here. That's all. This is for MDB. This is for TXT and CSV, XLS, CMDF, Paradox, all these are not there here now. We saw them there. This is for Oracle. This is for SQL Server. This is installed by Oracle actually. Actually, when is it installed? You know, when I installed Oracle software on my computer, it installed it. When I installed Oracle software on my computer, it installed this action. Is it clear, all of you? So when the Oracle software is installed, that Oracle driver is also installed. Okay. Microsoft given is 32-bit. But my Oracle is 64-bit. That's why Oracle is separately installed me a 64-bit driver. Are you clear, all of you? The drivers are already installed on your computer. That's what the second point, what I'm telling you. So read again. Along with Windows operating system, you'll get them now. Third point. If you want to use this ODBC drivers in your applications, you need to configure them. I repeat, guys, if you want to use this ODBC drivers, we need to configure. No, you don't get, Rakesh. You don't get. Okay, if you want to use an ODBC driver, we need to configure it first. What is it configuring? Look, guys, actually, when you open this window, when you open this you had a window like this. What do you require to do? You need to configure the drivers now. And we call the process as creating a DSN. Creating a DSN, where DSN stands for data source name. What is that, sir? I'll show you. Let us do a configuration with SQL Server. Let us do a configuration with SQL Server. Or let us do a configuration, anything. Or otherwise we'll do a configuration with the Excel first. File, man, you know Excel. So Excel file. I want to do a configuration with Excel file. See the process. Click on the Add button. It opens a window. And it'll ask you, choose the driver you want to configure. Come and tell me. Third one, Microsoft Excel driver. Are you clear? Select the driver. Click on the finish button. It opens a window and it'll ask you a few details here. Tell me the DSN name, data source name, the data source name. Any name you like, guys. I'll name it as Excel DSN. And be careful, all of you, with the name. You require to use this name in your applications going forward. This is the same name what you are going to use in your applications. And don't give any junk name, because this name should be used in that code in the C# application again now. So give a meaningful name. So I'm giving the name as Excel DSN. And click on the OK button. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'll do it again. Add button, Excel, click on the finish button. A window will open for you. Oh, Excel, click on the finish button, enter the DSN name. Excel DSN. Now here it will ask you for a description. Description is only optional. You can give any description you want. Okay. Configured to connect with Microsoft Office Excel document. Microsoft Office Excel document. Okay, now that's only optional. Come below. Here it will ask you, select the workbook. What is Excel a file? What is Excel, man? A file. You're required to select the file now. You're required to select that file. Okay, click on the select workbook. Actually, on my computer, guys, on the E drive, I have a folder called as Excel Docs. In that, I have this Excel document. Okay, I will upload this in your Google Classroom. You can copy on your system and try it out. Okay, so just a simple document, man, school.xls. Select the file. Select the file and click on the OK button. And you can see the path of the file you see. Click on the OK. Configuration is ready. Now take this and use in your C# application now. Your C# application will talk with the Excel driver. The Excel driver will talk with the Excel now. Please understand, your application is not directly talking with Excel. There is a translator in the middle now. Who is that? The Excel driver. Understood. Same way, I want to work with SQL Server. What do I need to do? Configure the driver again now. How? Click on the Add button. Choose your driver for SQL Server. Finish. Give a name now. SQL DSN. Again, description. Configured to connect with SQL Server database. Configured to connect with SQL Server database. And then here it will ask you for the server name. Guys, all of you, what is the server name? Server name is generally your machine name only. See, tomorrow, all of you, when you install SQL Server on your computer, you'll get a management studio. When you open this management studio, it will show you the server name in that list. So when you open this management studio, all of you just observe it. Server name. Okay, and my server name is server. So all of you verify what is your server name. What is your server name? I don't know what is your server name. My server name is server. Because my machine name is server. You are required to enter your server name there. Okay, what is the server name? Server. Click on the next button. Then it will ask you how you want to connect with SQL Server. And basically, SQL Server has two different authentication models. What are the two different authentication models? One is called as Windows authentication and one is called as SQL Server authentication. What is Windows authentication? Windows authentication means you can use the same Windows credentials to log in into SQL Server also. Already on your computer to log in, you have some credentials now. The same credentials you can use for logging into SQL Server. Second option is SQL authentication. What is SQL authentication? SQL authentication means it has a separate user ID and password. Windows authentication means user ID and password. Already you logged into your computer now with the same details. It will log in into the SQL Server also. Okay, but with SQL authentication, you're required to provide the details. How, sir? When I select SQL authentication, you are asking you, what is your ID password? See? But a Windows authentication will remove the text box, disable the text box. Even here also, all of you see authentication asking you, what is it? Asking for your ID password. But if I change my authentication to Windows, text box are disabled. Okay, so basically, we can use both the two different. Default is Windows only. Default is Windows only. But installation time, you require to select that option called both. Then you will get both. Okay, otherwise by default it is Windows authentication. So leave it, man. Don't change anything. Don't change anything. Leave Windows authentication. Click on the next button. Now it will ask you the name of the database you want to connect with. What it is? Say, where do you create a file on your computer? Where you create a file on your computer? On a folder? On a folder, where a folder is a container, where you create your tables in SQL Server on a database. Just like a container called file here, we have a container called as database. We're required to create our tables under the database now. Then here it will ask you, tell the database you want to connect with. By default, it will show you a database with the name called as master. We did not create any database here. There's a default database. Leave it, don't change it. Leave it, all of you, don't change anything. Master is the default database. By default, it will be existing on your server. Click on next, click on finish. So what did I enter? Tell me DSN name, description, server name. Afterwards, authentication will have the default. Database will have the default. So I entered only three, man. DSN name, description, server name. In this, description is optional only. So two are only things mandatory for you. What are they? DSN name, server name. Click on the finish button. It will show you all the details now. What are the data source name? What are the description? What are the server name? All these things it will show you here. Once you click on the test button, running connectivity tests, attempting connection established, verifying option setting, disconnecting from server, test completed successfully. Means what are they doing? Your details are correct now. All the tests are successfully done. All your details are correct. Now click on the OK button, guys, and the DSN is added. Like this, man, one by one DSN you can add, Same way, see, I'm selecting add again. I'm selecting Oracle. I hope your computer will not have Oracle. Just to show you, I'm showing you. You don't require to try with Oracle because you will not have Oracle on your computers because the database is SQL Server only for you. Okay, just to show you, you can connect with anything. I'm also explaining you with Oracle also. You can ignore this. Don't try Oracle. Okay, now click finish. Oracle DSN. What is this, server name only. Server name, yeah. What is the server name? There it is called server name, here it is called TNS service name. Both are same only, server name. And here you're required to enter the user ID and password. Actually, the user ID is system and the password is manager1. User ID and password. And here you'll be finding a test button. Connection success. I'm giving a wrong password. In opening a window, you can see asking you password. Why? The wrong password now. I'll enter the correct password. Notice it? Connection was success. Click on the OK button. Excel purely works on 64-bit because my MS Office is 64-bit. Oracle purely 64-bit. My Oracle is also 64-bit. But SQL Server is designed to work both in 32 and 64-bit also. You can see that. The SQL Server is designed to work both in 32 and 64-bit also. Okay. So that's why I said, you go with the higher version, everything will work now. 64-bit. Click OK. All the configurations are ready. Once again, you can read the third point. Clear? We created 3 DSNs now. One for Excel name, Excel DSN. One for SQL Server name, SQL DSN. One for Oracle name, Oracle DSN. Remember these names. We need to use this in our code. We need to use these names in our code. Okay. Next, fourth point. C language, man. C language means platform dependent. Na? Not only C and SQL. Fifth point. You have the availability of these drivers for all the tomorrow. You're working on a Linux machine. There also you'll have ODBC drivers. You're working on a Mac machine. There also you have the ODBC drivers. Every operating system provides you the ODBC drivers. Microsoft implemented for Windows operating system in 1992. Already you read that point on the top, remember. Same way, Red Hat is implemented for Linux. Apple is implemented for Mac. We have the drivers available in all these places now. Okay now? Read it. What is this? What is that is? Just a minute. These drivers must be installed on each and every machine where the applications are executing from. And then application, driver, and data set should be manually configured with each other. What is that, sir? If you are working with a web application, not a problem, guys. Tomorrow, you are building a desktop application. You are building a desktop application. And now my desktop application is installed on 10 computers now. The application is installed on 10 computers. All the 10 wants to connect with the database now. Yes or not? Now you're required to do this configuration on all 10 computers. Remember, what configuration is done should be done on all the 10 computers now. Imagine if you have 100 computers. You are required to do on all the 100 machines. Sir, for web application, no problem for web application. Why? Web application runs on one machine only. Which machine? Web server. Clients will talk with the web server. Web server will talk with the database. So for web server, you can configure on the server computer, enough. But with a desktop application, you're required to configure on all the client computers now. That is the drawback. Second, guys, when you learn SQL Server, you might be learning about this particular thing. Databases are different types. Hierarchical databases, network databases, relational databases. Your teacher might have already taught you. And if you come across the concept of the DBMS in your academics, you already know about all these things now. Databases are different types. What is it? Hierarchical, network, relational. Next, object relational. Next, object-oriented relational. Are you clear? Relational, object-oriented relational, all are same only. But before that, we have network. Before that, we have hierarchy. Okay. Read the second point now. Did you understand or not? You cannot use these ODBC drivers for network and hierarchical databases. We cannot use it for network and hierarchical. It works on only relational, object-oriented relational. All are relational only now. We can use it only on the relational. You cannot use it on the others. I hope you guys are clear. Understood all of you? That's the important thing. And to overcome these drawbacks, man, in 1996, they came out with another technology. What is it? OLDB stands for object linking and embedding database. This is a new concept now. Okay, read it. It's a collection of providers where these providers will sit between applications and data source to help in communication with each other, and we require a separate provider for every data source. I read the same point you read on the top also, collection of drivers. Now I changed the name driver to provider, but here also same only. There we call them as drivers, and here we call them as providers. Name changer, that's all. But now also job is like a translator. Okay, next. See there, 92, 96. Okay, next. Did you understand the advantage of this compared with your OLDB? So compared with ODBC, ODBC can talk only with relational. OLDB can talk with relational, non-relational also. Next. We don't do any configurations here, like you don't require to do any configurations here. Means these providers are directly present on the server. Which server? Database server machine only. They are present directly on the database server. So when your application goes there, automatically these providers will be available there and help in the communication. Suppose you want to purchase a TV. You want to purchase a TV. You go to a electronic showroom to purchase a TV, and there you have a salesman. Salesman, he'll ask you, what is your requirement? You said you want a TV. He'll ask you, what type of TV you want? You tell that. And what is your budget? After you tell all these particular things, then the salesman starts demonstrating about each and every TV now. Correct? Huh? The salesman is a part of the showroom now? Or should I hire him? Huh? When I go there, already salesman is there helping you now. Exactly. The provider is also present on the server waiting for you. Go there, the provider will help you automatically. You don't require to do any configurations now. See, remember, tomorrow I have 100 desktop applications. No need to do any configuration. Do you understand? These are the two drawbacks we talked, man. What is the first drawback? On every system, the configuration should be done. Second one, relational. See now, the second point is telling you about it can talk with relational, non-relational. Third point is telling no need any configuration. Because they're readily available on the server. Connect there and you can start using them. No need any installations. Next. Sir, what is it? COM and SQL languages. They're C and SQL. You study or COM. COM, is it a language? No, it's not like a language. Today, C#, VB, F#, all these languages come under .NET languages, not object-oriented. .NET languages. .NET came in which year? Endless fellows. 2002, yeah. What do you remember? 2002, the official launch of .NET in the market. Which year? But before 2002, Microsoft has so many languages other than these .NET languages, man. 2002, .NET came. Before 2002, Visual Basic, Visual C++, Visual Fox Pro. So many languages are present from Microsoft before .NET. Yeah. What was? Visual Basic, Visual C++, Visual Fox Pro. All these languages comes under a category called as COM languages. Older languages are called as COM languages. New languages are called as .NET languages. So understand, COM is an ancestor to .NET. From 2002, .NET. Before 2002, COM languages means Visual Basic, Visual Fox Pro, Visual C++. Using those languages, they built the drivers. Is it clearer or not? Sorry, providers. They built the providers. 4 point clear? There I said you want C, but here what I'm telling you, not C language, common the last point. Microsoft introduced OLEDP provider as a replacement for ODBC drivers for the Windows operating system because OLEDP is a pure Microsoft technology that works on Windows platforms only. Actually, as a replacement for ODBC, Microsoft launched the OLEDP for the Windows. And don't forget here, OLEDP is a pure Microsoft technology, works only on Windows. But what about ODBC? I said you have ODBC available for Windows, Linux, Mac also. ODBC is not a Microsoft product. ODBC is not a Microsoft product, but OLEDP is a Microsoft product and works on Windows machines only and will not work on any other machine. Pure Windows machines only it will work. It doesn't work on any other machine. Is my point clear, all of you? Yes or not? Okay. So two options I said here. First option, ODBC. Second option, OLEDP. ODBC is a collection of drivers. OLEDP is a collection of providers. ODBC drivers can communicate with relational. OLEDP providers can communicate with relational, non-relational. ODBC drivers require configuration. OLEDP providers doesn't require configuration. Here, ODBC works on Windows, Linux, Mac, and it's open source. But OLEDP works on only Windows, doesn't work on any other things. So we can use both now. We can use both the ODBC also can be used, OLEDP also can be used. Okay now? Well, now look at this here. Some important things to remember here. First point. Before 2002, everything from Microsoft is unmanaged only now. One came in 92, one came in 96. Both are unmanaged now. Second point. You can use anywhere, man. We can use them in C, C++, Python, Visual Basic, Visual C++, Java, and also in .NET languages also can use them. .NET languages also can use them. Are you clear? But here starts a problem now. What is the problem? Suppose, for example, I want to consume ODBC drivers in VB. Just for example, I'm telling you, I want to consume ODBC drivers in VB. ODBC drivers are developed using which language? C. Which language you want to consume from VB? Are you clear? So if you want to connect with the C language code now, you are required to write some coding now. You're required to do some complex coding only. Not easy, complex coding, because that is a different language and you are in a different language now. Are you getting me? So I need to write some complex coding to interact. Not one time now, 100 applications I develop. 100 times I need to write this code again and again now. Tell me correct or not. There are 100 applications developed by 100 different people here. And all these applications should talk with the ODBC drivers. So as a developer, you are required to write the code now in all these applications to talk with the ODBC drivers. Lengthy process. Yes or not? To resolve this problem, what did Microsoft do? Microsoft has given you some ready-made libraries to you, and they implemented all the code for you and said, you can use these libraries directly now. You can use these libraries directly. For example, simple example I'll tell you. You want to create a GUI. You want to create a GUI. What you require? Controls. Yes or not? Imagine if these controls are not ready-made. Imagine these controls are not ready-made. You will start crying now. You will start crying now. Why? I need to create all these controls manually. I need to create all these controls manually. I need to create all the controls manually now. Are you getting my point or not? But see, understand, Microsoft understand. See, what will do? You need to develop 100 people, 100 applications. Everyone should write the code again for developing the controls. Clear? Without the trouble, what did Microsoft do? Microsoft has developed all the controls and given to you and said, in every application, you can use these controls directly. Correct? Same concept I'm telling you now also. What is it? If 100 people building 100 applications wants to communicate with the ODBC driver, requires to write 100 times the logic to interact with the ODBC driver now. Without this pain, Microsoft only has given you some built-in libraries and telling you, use these libraries. They will help you to talk the drivers now. Are you clear? What is first from Microsoft? COM languages. What came? COM languages means, I said you 3 languages to you. Visual Basic, Visual C++, Visual Fox Pro. In all these applications, I want to interact with a data source. I want to interact with a data source. First option, using ODBC drivers. But what is the problem? ODBC, COM languages cannot directly talk to the ODBC drivers. As a developer, it is your job to write all the complex code now. To resolve it, there is an inbuilt library called as RDOs, Remote Data Objects. It provides you a set of classes. Use those classes. Those classes are already ready to talk to the ODBC drivers. Just only tell the DSN name to them and they will interact with it. Are you getting me or not? So what is this, man? A set of classes here. And for this class, tell the DSN name now. And it will talk with the ODBC drivers. You can use this directly in your applications now. Easy coding. Understood? Sir, if these RDOs are not present, can't I interact? Then also you can interact. But you require to write all the complex logic now. Sir, a button is there, can't I develop it GUI? Who said? You can develop. But remember here, you are required to write all the code for developing a button, which may take at least a month to write the code. Which may take a month to write a code for button now. Another month for writing a code for a text box now. Another month for writing a code for a drop-down list now. Are you ready? Without that button ready, drag and drop. Text box ready, drag and drop. That's what I'm telling you. Is it clear? Next, what happened next is, same in COM languages, up to 92 we have ODBC drivers, but 96 what came? OLDB providers came. OLDB providers came. When OLDB providers came here, they replaced RDOs with ADOs. RDO stands for Remote Data Objects. ADO stands for Activates Data Objects. RDO is a library to talk with ODBC driver. ADO is a driver to talk with OLDB provider. Same way, guys, you are building an application by using Java. Just for example, I'm telling you, Java language. Are you clear? And you want to use a ODBC driver and talk with a data source. If that is the case, you are required to use a library provided by Java called as JDBC. You are required to use a library provided by Java called as JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. A set of classes, man, that's all. Are you clear? Same like this here. Now, I want to build an application by using .NET languages. .NET languages. Interact with, wait, data source. Interact with a data source. So you're required, you can take the help of or. You can take the help of both also now and interact with a data source. And if that is the case, the library what Microsoft has given you is ADO.NET. So now tell me, what is ADO.NET? ADO.NET is a library that can be used under .NET applications to interact with a data source by taking the help of ODBC driver or OLDB providers. Are you clear till now? Or they added you a new thing called as framework providers developed by using C# language. COM, see, OLDB providers are developed using COM. Okay, framework providers are developed using C#. So now tell me, framework providers are platform independent or not? Tell me, ODBC, platform dependent, OLDB, platform dependent, framework provider, platform independent. So tomorrow, if you want to use on a Linux machine or a Mac machine, remember, yeah, you cannot use ADO.NET or we cannot use ODBC or we cannot use OLDB. What should I use? Framework provider should be used. Are you clearer or not? But unfortunately, Microsoft has designed these framework providers to interact only with SQL Server and Oracle databases. Only with SQL Server and Oracle database. But coming to Oracle also, there is a limited support. There is a limited support. Sir, what about other data sources like MySQL, MongoDB? So many are there in my market now. Tomorrow I'm working on a Linux machine. Listen carefully. I'm working on a Linux machine. Can I use ODBC drivers there? Yes or no? Wrong answer. Why? Already I said you now ODBC drivers are available for Windows, Linux and Mac operating systems also. Are you clear? Okay, I'm working on a Linux machine now. Can I use ODBC drivers? Yes. Can I use OLDB providers? No. You can't use OLDB. OLDB works only on Windows. Can I use a framework provider? Yes. I can use a framework provider. But unfortunately, what I said, your framework provider is available only to interact with SQL Server and Oracle. For Oracle also, support is not there. Limited support is there. SQL Server is Microsoft product here. That's a full support. But Oracle is not a Microsoft product. So that's it's a limited support. It is a limited support. But remember, I'm working on Linux and the database I want to interact with is MySQL. I repeat, I'm working on Linux and the database I want to interact is MySQL. Can I use a ODBC driver? Yes. Can I use a OLDB provider? No. Can I use a framework provider? No. Why? Framework provider is not available for MySQL, available only for SQL Server and Oracle. Are you clear or not? Okay, listen carefully to me. The framework providers are given by Microsoft only for SQL and Oracle limited support. Oracle limited support, not for any other data sources. But sir, I want to work on Linux and I want to connect with MySQL. I want to work with Linux and connect with MySQL. Is the ODBC only option for me? Is the ODBC only option for me? Because you said a drawback with ODBC. Yes or not? No, guys. You can also use third-party framework providers. We can also use third-party framework providers. There are so many third-party framework providers available in the market. You can purchase them and you can use them. Are you clear or not? What you can do, you can purchase them and you can use them. I'm working with Linux. My database is MySQL. So remember, OLDB cannot be used. Forget about OLDB. I can use ODBC and I can use framework also, but we need to purchase them separately. They are not free. We need to purchase them separately. Are you getting me or not? Recently, in one of my applications I'm developing in my company, I have a similar requirement here. What is the requirement here? My requirement is I'm building a .NET Core application. I'm building a .NET Core application. And the database I need to interact is Redshift. What is the database? Redshift. It is from Amazon. It is from Amazon. It runs in AWS. It runs in AWS actually. I need to connect with that from my .NET Core application. From my .NET Core application. Are you getting my point or not? Okay, and tomorrow, if at all I'm going to run my .NET Core application on a Linux server, if I'm going to run a Linux server, all the problem comes now. So what I require a third party provider now, because Microsoft is not offering me. So there is a company called as DWAPT, that there is a company which is only focusing on developing these drivers and providers to different means they develop and sell. Means their business is only to develop these communication components and sell them. They sell for Java, they sell for Python, they sell for .NET, like this, they sell for variety of companies actually. Read it. Their focus is only on database management tools. That's it. Okay. And you can see, if you go to the site, they provide you with they provide you with different things here. They have with Microsoft, with Oracle, different companies, they have the tie-ups now. And see here, we'll be finding out. This is for Oracle. These are for MySQL. Oh, all options are there. I want to connect with, just for example, I want to connect with Redshift. This is for Delphi. This is for using in Delphi, like this. Let me say, providers for .NET Core. Universal data access components for Delphi and Lazarus. You can use it for Oracle, PostgreSQL. Also, what I want, a Redshift. I can just download this and I can use it. But they are not free, guys. We need to purchase it. We need to purchase it. We need to purchase. See, this is the one what we want. This is the one what we just want. We're required to purchase it and we're required to use it. So, Microsoft gives it free for SQL Server and Oracle, but Oracle limited support only, guys. Oracle limited support only. Okay. But if at all you just want to work with other data sources, you need to purchase. You need to purchase them separately. We need to purchase them separately. Okay. So actually, when we are developing this application, we downloaded first. A trial version is given as a trial version. We tested. Everything is ready. But later on, the client is not ready to invest that much money on it, because client has to pay the money now. I cannot tell me a solution. Client has just not ready to pay that much amount investing, because these are annual licensings. Every year they need to renew the licenses. Every year they need to renew the license, somewhere around $3,000. Somewhere around $3,000 they required to invest on it. 2,40,000 according to the Indian currency. And yeah, and not only about that, every year you need to renew that money. Every year you're required to renew that particular money. That's why they showed reluctance, and we just shown them some other solutions. That's a different story. But that's what. Tomorrow, if the client is ready to willing to pay, you can purchase them now, and you can start using them in your applications. Are you clear about the framework providers? So now tell me how many options you have in your .NET applications to interact with data source. What are the three? ODBC drivers. Second one, third one. And ADO.NET library provides you options to all the three now. It will provide you classes to talk with ODBC drivers also. It will provide you classes to talk with OLDB providers also. It will provide you classes to talk with framework providers also. Everything will be available for you when you work with ADO.NET. Read the note. Without writing any complex coding now. And this is what I said you now. For COM, we have RDOs. Again, we have ADOs. Why separate, sir? Because both did not come at the same time. ODBC came in 92, OLDB came in 96 now. When ODBC came, RDOs came. When OLDB came, ADOs came. And for Java, JDBC. And for .NET, ADO.NET. Read the next point. Are you clear? Did you understand the point? Now read the note. What these framework providers do, the framework providers will directly interact with the database in its own protocol. They will directly interact with the database in its own protocol. I'll show you a picture. Just watch it. You understand the first picture? Are you clear? Either driver or provider should be present now. Just only I specified about it. Understood? Huh? If you are using a OLDB provider, your application will first talk with that will talk to the and that will talk with the. But see, this is how using a framework provider. Straight away, the application talks to the SQL Server. No one in the middle again. No one in the middle. Are you getting me or not? But if you want to develop it like that, you want to develop it like this, what you require, Kaya? Suppose I want to develop a framework provider for MySQL. Just imagine, I want to develop a framework provider for MySQL. Now, I need to purchase. If I am Microsoft here. I am Microsoft and I need to develop a framework provider for MySQL. Are you getting me? Imagine me as Microsoft now. And I need to provide you a framework provider for interacting with MySQL. Are you clear? If that is the case, I as a Microsoft required to purchase the code base of MySQL now. I need to purchase the code base of MySQL. I need to know their protocol. How do I know their protocol now? I don't know. I need to pay them and purchase. Why for me? Why will I pay and purchase and give you free now? Are you getting me? Sir, for SQL Server might for anyone now. That is why it is not doing it. But what is DWAD doing? DWAD is paying all of them, purchasing the code base, developing the drivers and selling to you. Is it clearer or not? What is DWAD doing? DWAD is purchasing the code base, developing the products and selling to you. See, what is DWAD doing? DWAD is a manufacturing company, man. What a manufacturing company does, purchases the raw material, makes it as a useful product and sells to you. You are using a soap, but to manufacture this soap, so many raw material are there now. And you don't know how to manufacture a soap now. So soap manufacturer company, what is it doing? It is purchasing all the raw material from different sources, making a soap, selling the soap to you. You are using the soap. Same now. Are you clear? That's all business. That's all business here. So did you understand? The communication is faster and efficient. It is faster and efficient because there is nothing, no one in the middle. Direct communication will happen. Direct communication will happen. Next point. Remember, you have three options. What is the first one? Second one. Third one. Framework providers. Framework providers is again managed. Okay, these two are unmanaged. Come on, ADO.NET, read it. Library. Library means array. Types means classes, structures, interfaces, enums, delegates. All these things will be using which? Remember, you can talk to any data source you want with the help of ODBC driver. Second, OLDB provider. Third, framework provider. All three options now. Okay, read the second point. Array. Libraries means DLLs for us now. DLL, dynamic link library. So we have two DLLs here. First one. Second, till now so many DLLs we used here, system.net, system.dll. The day one onwards we are using it. In web we use the system.web.dll. Remember, all your controls are defined in array, all your controls, text boxes, buttons, all these things, you're working from what? From separate DLL now. All DLLs only. So here we have two main DLLs. What are the two? Second one, Oracle client.dll. And every assembly is a collection of namespaces now. Minimum one, maximum any number of namespace can be present. Read the next point. We have 5 namespaces now. Okay, now you'll have a doubt here. Sir, what namespaces are present in which DLL? What namespaces are present in which DLL? The first 4 namespaces are present in system.data.dll. That is only the main one. That is only the main one. Last one. Present in. So you noticed it put Oracle separately. Anytime that can be kicked out. Are you clear? That's why it did not integrate it with the main. What is the main now? System.data.dll is the main. Are you clear, all of you? Okay. So read this note. Don't forget this hierarchy, man. How many assemblies? 2 assemblies. What are the 2? System.data.oracle client DLL. How many namespaces? 5. What is the first one? System.data. Data.odbc. OLDB. SQL client. System.data. Not Oracle. Oracle. It is Oracle client, not Oracle client. Okay. System.data.oracle client. Okay. Certainly 5 are the options what we have. Clearer or not? Understood? Let me tell you. Now every namespace is a collection of types now. Array, don't forget the hierarchy. We learned already. SMB, collection of namespaces. Namespace, collection of types. Type, collection of members. That is the hierarchy of it. Okay, now? So I'm bringing low, level by level. First I talked about assembly. Under that I talked about namespace. Now every namespace is a collection of types now. Now let me explain you. Let us start from here. In this namespace, we are provided with types to interact with relational databases using ODBC drivers. Did you understand me? The name itself is telling you, man. Once again, what is it? In this namespace, we have a set of types to interact with relational databases using ODBC drivers using now. Can you answer this now? Provides a set of types for interacting with simple any data source, relational, non-relational. Why no need all this nonsense? Interact with any data source using OLDB provider. Using OLDB provider. Next. Provides a set of types for interacting to SQL Server. Interacting to SQL Server using what? Framework provider. Using framework provider for SQL Server. Framework provider for SQL Server. Last one. Interacting to Oracle using framework provider for Oracle. Again, I'm telling you, this one for interacting to relational database using ODBC driver. This one interacting to any data source using ODBC provider. Interacting to SQL Server using framework provider for SQL Server. This one. Interacting to Oracle using framework provider for Oracle. Using the framework provider for Oracle. Like this. These are the different options that are available for us for interacting with the different things now. Are you clear? I did not tell the first one. I did not tell the first one. I'll tell you. So, you understood this four now? In all these four namespaces, now every namespace contains types now. In all these four namespaces, we have the same types. What is that, sir? Yes, yeah. The type names are same in all the four. Just for example, recollect. One day, we have just worked with abstract classes. Figure, under figure, cone, circle, rectangle, triangle. Yes or not? And we discussed like, whatever methods are present in circle will be same in cone, rectangle. First we declare everything is abstract in the parent. I said you this structure, remember? Exactly. Here also, we have a set of classes in ODBC namespace here. And the same classes are present in OLDB also, SQL client also, Oracle client also. Okay, what are those classes here? These are the classes, guys. These are the classes. Did you understand me? These are the classes. What are the classes? Connection, command, DataReader, adapter, command build. These 6 classes are same in all the 4 namespaces now. Sir, then how to differentiate them? Did you understand the question? Read the note. Read the note in the below. You understand? To differentiate between each and other, the above 6 types are prefixed with ODBC, OLDB, SQL, and Oracle. So how do you read now? ODBC connection, ODBC command, ODBC parameter, ODBC data reader, ODBC data adapter, ODBC command builder. And all these are defined in system.data.odbc. Same way. OLDB connection, OLDB command, OLDB parameter, OLDB data reader, OLDB data adapter, OLDB command builder. And all these are defined in system.data.oldb. So what is the advantage for you, you know? I'll tell you. This is the list. See, ODBC connection, OLDB connection, SQL connection, Oracle connection. Same again. ODBC command, OLDB command, SQL command, Oracle command. Same again. ODBC data reader, ODBC data reader, OLDB data reader, SQL data reader, Oracle data reader. So what is the advantage? You don't require to learn about 26, 24 classes now. You need to learn only about 6 classes. If you know how to work with a connection class in ODBC, suppose I started with ODBC first. I explained about ODBC connection class. Tomorrow, when I take you to OLDB, you don't require to learn anything newly now. Change the class name to OLDB connection, and you will find the same members what are in ODBC connection in OLDB connection also. That only said you whatever you find in cone class will be same in circle also. Get area. Whatever you find in circle, you will find in rectangle also. You will find in triangle also. Same. Now you know, understand working with one class. Enough, you can work with remaining 3 classes in the same style now. Now tell me, do I need to teach you about 24 classes or 6 classes? If I teach you 6, you can work with all the 24 now. That is the beauty here. Understood all of you? Okay now? Well, now let me talk about the first one also. What is the first one? Actually, this provides you a set of types for holding and managing the data. This doesn't interact for holding and managing. Who will connect? Who will interact? Now, these 4 connected to the data and loaded the data now. Loaded the data. Now that data should be loaded on my application here. I need to hold the data on my application. And if you want to hold the data on your application, you are required to take the help of, read it all of you. What are the types in it? Data set. You already used the data set. Don't you remember? You put blank faces here. One day when you loaded data from XML, we use it that now. Data set ds is equals to new data set and ds dot read XML. And all the XML data loaded into your application and this represents your data in a tabular format. I said you already. That is only. And on that day, go and check. You imported this namespace and consumed it. Go and verify if you want. Are you clear? Not only data set here, you have so many other classes also. Data table, data row, data column, data view, data relation. And remember, these 6 classes doesn't have any prefix. They're just 6. That's all. Understood? Next. Any relational data source by using ODBC drivers. Next. Any data source by using OLDB provider. Next. Only with SQL Server database by using framework provider for SQL Server. Same here. Only with the Oracle database by using framework providers for Oracle. Next point. So now understand here, we have 2 different sets of classes. One set is data set, data table, data row, data column, data view, data relation. These are 6. Another 6 are connection, command, parameter, data reader, DataAdapter, command builder. But these 6 should be multiplied with 4, total 24. But we don't require to learn about the 24. So we need to learn a 6 plus 6, 12 different classes, how to use in our applications to interact with the data sources. Is that clear, all of you? That is how you will be working with these particular classes. These classes, we will use them and we'll see how to interact with the data sources. Are you clear? And remember, guys, when I am using the ODBC connections, I will use the DSNs I created today. We created a DSN now. We will use this DSN now in our code. Remember the 3 DSN names. Tomorrow we will use those DSN names in our code to interact with the data sources. Are you guys clearer or not? Now answer me a question. A simple question. Why your application wants to interact with the data source? To manage the data. To manage the data. Managing means what do you do? inserting, deleting, and tell me inserting, updating, deleting, selecting here. Main thing you are forgetting. Selecting also. Select, insert, update, delete. What about create, alter, drop and all? We never do that. What is that, sir? Array. Application will never perform creating a table, man. That should be designed first. Recollect the application architecture I said you earlier. Identify the entities. Identify the attributes. Third step, design the database. At the time of designing the database, only table creation, columns, and all the things will happen. Application, don't think like your ASP.NET application will go and create a table there. It won't. It will only deal with the data. So your application only deals only with select, insert, update, and delete. In other words, we call them as CRUD operations. What do we call? CRUD operations. Read it. Are you clear? CRUD. C stands for create. Create means insert. R stands for read. Read means select. Update is update only. Delete is delete only. If you talk in database terminology, what we call select, insert, update, and delete. But if you call in object-oriented terminology, we call it as CRUD. Don't forget this particular definition. In database terminology, select, insert, update, delete. But in object-oriented terminology, it is called CRUD. Create, insert, update. Create, read, update, delete. Create means insert. Read means select. Read the next thing. Any operation you do here, you select, you insert, you update, you delete, whatever is your choice. But every operation involves 3 steps. These 3 things are common, man. Every time you should establish a connection, you should send a request to the data source, and then you need to capture the result. Are you clear? So what is this establishing a connection? What is this sending a result? What is this capturing a result? We'll see in detail from the tomorrow session. We'll start with establishing a connection. We'll start with establishing a connection. And I'll show you how to establish a connection using ODBC, OLEDA, SQL client, Oracle client, everything. Okay, but I'm telling you, you cannot test Oracle client because you don't have Oracle on your machine. I will post the Excel document in Google Classroom, download the Excel and put on your folder. You can try with Excel, you can try with SQL Server. Is that clear, all of you? Let's stop here. We'll meet tomorrow.